month of Ramadan is here, the month of Ramadan. The month.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Okay, Ramadan Mubarak if I haven't seen you. My name is Sherry Mubasher, and I'm going to be reading 4 books to you during this Ramadan story time. So this is our first book. It's called The Proudest Blue, A Story of Hijab and Family. And this book was actually written by the Olympic medalist Ibtihaj Muhammad with SKLE, art by Hatem Ali.
She's a teacher. Yeah.
The Proudest Blue. Mama holds out the pink. Mama loves pink. But Asia shakes her head. I know why. Behind the counter is the brightest blue, the color of the ocean. If you squint your eyes and pretend there's no line between the water and the sky. It's the first day hijab. Asia knows it. I know it. We're sisters. The next day, I wait. A new backpack, new light-up shoes. I feel special. I feel like twirling. Asia comes out of the house, and I stop. It's the most beautiful first day of school ever. I'm walking with a princess, so I pretend I'm one too. But even princesses have to stop to cross the street. Asia takes my hand in hers, says, "Come on, Faizia." We speed walk it. 14 steps, 14 light-ups to get across. Asia takes me to my line first, hugs me goodbye. I turn to watch her leave and give a little curtsy. Hey, you guys. I turn to watch her leave, give a little curtsy to the princess going to the 6th grade area. She's easy to see. Her hijab smiles at me the whole way. My first day hijab is going to be blue too. What's that on your sister's head? The girl in front of me whispers. A scarf, I whisper back. I don't know why a whisper came out. I try again, louder now. A scarf, hijab. Oh, she whispers. Asia's hijab isn't a whisper. Asia's hijab is like the sky on a sunny day. The sky isn't a whisper. It's always there, special and regular. The first day of wearing hijab is important, Mama had said. It means being strong. I turn, but I can't see the blue anymore. I run to the big kid's side, 27 steps to see Asia. I need to give her another hug. I need to see her smile. Faiza? Asia's eyes wonder why I'm here. Are you excited, I ask, about the first day of hijab? She nods, smiling big, and I feel better. Someone laughs from nearby, a boy pointing to Asia. Why? Asia's hijab isn't a laugh. Asia's hijab is like the ocean waving to the sky. It's always there, strong and friendly. Some people won't understand your hijab, Mama had said, but if you understand who you are, one day they will too. In class, I draw a picture. 2 princesses in hijab having a picnic on an island where the ocean meets the sky. The girl who whispers in line says she likes it. She says it so loud, the teacher comes over to see it. I wonder if Asia drew a picture too. Recess time is for 5 cartwheels in a row. I land the last one near the 6th graders, near Asia and her friends. Near a boy yelling, "I'm going to pull that tablecloth off your head." Asia's hijab isn't a tablecloth. Asia's hijab is blue, only blue. Asia turns away. Her friends turn away. They race to the middle of the schoolyard, their shoes pounding the pavement, playing tag. Mama, don't carry around the hurtful words that others say. Drop them. They are not yours to keep. They belong only to those who said them. It takes me 48 steps to get away from the yelling boy. After school, I look around. I look for whispers, laughs, and shouts. But I only see Asia waiting for me, like it's a regular day. She's smiling, strong. We cross the road, hand in hand. I can't wait to get home to show Mama the picture I drew, to show Asia that I'm wearing the same hijab in it. Because Asia's hijab is like the ocean and the sky, no line between them, saying hello with a loud wave, saying I'll always be here like sisters, like me and Asia. And on this last page is the picture of Ibtihaj Muhammad, and these are actually her 2 sisters. Their names are in the story. This one is Asia, and this one is Faiza. Just to kind of see a little. All right, that concludes our first book, The Proudest Blue, A Story of Hijab and Family. All right, let's go to our next one. This one is called The 100th Name. And this one is by Shulamith Oppenheim, and it's illustrated by Michael Hayes.
Okay.
Far back in time, in a land where kings were once called pharaohs and the great river is still called the Nile, a boy in a tiny village by the banks of this river was very sad. Salah wasn't sad because he lived in a house of sun-dried mud brick. This was good. Mud brick is cool in the summer and warm in the winter. There was space for everyone, for his mother and his father, and 5 older sisters, for the 3 baby she-goats and their mother, for the dark brown burro with light brown legs and tail, for the 2 puppies with pointed noses and pyramid ears. He wasn't sad because of bad weather. The sky was always blue. The clouds, when there were clouds, were pink and violet. In his father's fields of wheat and barley, clover and maize, the sun kept the crops green and growing. River water flowed through troughs of black earth that penciled the fields. Salah had helped his father dig these ditches to irrigate the land. This morning, Salah sat by the water's edge under a low date palm, its fronds brushing the ground. He watched the feluccas with slim, high sails float lazily up and down the river. Beside him was a camel. It was because of this camel that he was so very sad. The camel's name, was Kadim, ancient one. But Kadim wasn't ancient at all. He was 7 going on 8, born just a few weeks before Salah in June. Salah's father had named him so because a camel looks old when it's born, my son. Look at him. Look at the camels in the village. They all look the same, only their size changes. When Salah looked into Kadim's face, he saw that his father spoke the truth, but he saw something else, sadness. Do you hang your head because you're sad, Kadim? The boy rubbed his cheek against the camel's hump. Is this why all camels hang their heads? The camel nuzzled Salah's leg. The boy didn't move. On a sandbank in the middle of the river, the green shanks and wagtails darted between, around gray herons standing motionless against the reeds. It was a beautiful day, but Salah couldn't enjoy it. Kadim wasn't happy, and of all the animals, Salah loved this camel best. They worked together. They slept together. They were like brothers. What's wrong with you, Salah? His father came out from behind a stalk of maize. You're getting to be like this camel, hanging your head, dragging along. He accompanied his words with a lightning twist on an ear of corn and a quick downward pull on the husk. It's all right, Kadim. Salah patted the camel's nose. You know how father is. He couldn't get on without you. None of us could. Kadim always dropped his lids when he understood. Now his eyes were nearly closed. Salah touched the bony growths on Kadim's knees. They came from kneeling and rising with great loads on his back. All camels had them. If only there was some way of making Kadim feel happy and special. Then the camel would stand proud and tall. It was noon. Salah's father stopped picking maize and untied his prayer rug from behind Kadim's hump. He prayed 5 times a day. In a few years, Salah would do the same. Camel and boy watched as the man unrolled the rug, shook it out, and laid it reverently on the ground. Then he raised a hand toward the sky. Prayer, Salah, has the greatest power. It is a gift we must all use, for Allah is good. He listens, he understands. And Salah's father dropped to his knees, touched his forehead to the rug, and then stretching himself out full length, kissed its edge, stood up and prayed. Prayer has great power. Allah wished all his creatures to be happy. Salah's father had touched him this many times. Allah would never wish a camel to be as sad as Kadim and all the other camels. If only Allah could make Kadim happy. Salah's father was weaving slowly back and forth, hands folded by his waist, eyes shut. Finally, prayers were over. Salah jumped up. He would tell his father, I'm sad, father, because Kadim is sad. And why, silly one, is Kadim sad? The man smiled down at his son. This boy, always worrying about the animals. Well, why not? To be kind is best, even if Salah did go too far with his obstinate, ugly beast of theirs. A tiny lizard was stirring up a small dust storm by Salah's toes, searching out a way around the boy's feet. You'll laugh, father, but I think he's sad just because he does look old, even though he's only 7 like me. No one in the village could get on without camels, but everyone makes fun of them. That's why they hang their heads and drag along. They all feel the same way. I know they do. Kadim shut his eyes and began chewing his cud noisily. Salah put his arms around his father's legs and hugged him. There must be something we can do so that... He looked up at his father, who at this moment seemed to soar upward like a felucca's mast, so that Kadim will be happy and hold up his head tall and proud. Salah shuffled his foot in the earth, sending the lizard scuttling off. Like you, father, so that all camels will be happy and proud. I don't laugh at you, my son. Your heart is speaking, but one cannot have everything. Kadim rests under the shade of the date palm tree, queen of trees. He eats cakes made from crushed stones of their fruit, the date. He sleeps by your side. He has your love. Think. And loosening his son's arms, he sat down cross-legged against the tree and drew Salah close. Here on earth, we poor mortals must live and die knowing only 99 names for Allah, our God, though there are in truth 100 names, and the last one is the most important. And do we talk about dejected, head down, shuffling our feet? No! We work, we eat, we care for each other, we try to be happy as Allah wishes us to be. And he raised his hand to the sky as he had done earlier. We pray. Then Salah's father got up and went back to his field. Kadim opened his eyes very wide, looked straight at Salah, and then shut them till his lashes disappeared. And Salah looked straight back at him. Later that night, when the household slept and Salah lay next to Kadim, his father's words drummed in his head, keeping sleep away. Prayer has great power, my son. It's a gift we must all use. Allah is good. He listens. He understands. Allah wishes all his creatures to be happy, but we poor mortals must live and die without knowing Allah's 100th, his most important name. What if Kadim could be told Allah's 100th name? And suddenly, Salah knew what he must do. Kadim stirred. Salah slipped his galabiya over his head. Sleep, the boy whispered to the camel. I'll be back soon. He crept to the corner of the room where his father's prayer rug lay tightly rolled against the wall. Outside, the moon was new like the water buffalo's horn. Salah hurried toward the river, the rug bouncing across his neck. By the water, branches of a sycamore tree hung low, weighted down with the egret sleeping. Salah laid out the rug. Then, as he had seen his father do so many times before, he prayed, his thin body moving back and forth gracefully, as if he had been performing these rites his whole life long. He prayed to Allah with all his strength. The next morning, after Salah had eaten flatbread and drunk a cup of warm goat's milk, he ran outside. His father was adjusting the basket saddle in front of Kadim's hump. Have a look at that camel of yours, the man was shaking his head in wonder. Allah only knows what came over him in the night. Salah saw immediately that Kadim was standing proud and tall, his incredibly long neck curved toward the sky, his head held erect. And on his face, a look not only of happiness, but, and Salah's heart gave a thump, a look of infinite wisdom. Salah whispered to Kadim, you know the name? And in the softest whisper, Allah's 100th name? The camel's heavy lids drooped. But you're not to tell, I promised Allah. Kadim agreed with the slightest movement of his head, only to other camels. Salah's father patted his son's cheek. Go along, I have weeding to do in the walled garden. Masalam, go in peace, both of you. He smiled. Whatever touched Kadim in the night, God is great. Allahu Akbar. Kadim started for the fields. His step was quick, light, he fairly ran, and Salah, one hand on Kadim's neck, skipped beside him. And this is why I think the camel has the look it does. For while man knows only 99 names for Allah, the camel knows the 100th name, and he has never told. All right, that concludes our second book, The 100th Name. The next one is called The White Nights of Ramadan by Maha Addasi, illustrated by Ned Gannon. Noor stared out her bedroom window at the rising moon. "It's almost time," she whispered and ran to tell her brothers. "Look out the window," Noor said. "The moon is almost full. The middle of Ramadan will soon be here." "And Gurgaan," said Sam. "Yes, and Gurgaan," said Noor. Sam and Dan smacked their hands and high-fived and sang, "Gurgaan, oh Gurgaan, candy, oh candy." "Look, I'm a mustahir," said Sam, banging his drum. The mustahir walked through their neighborhood before dawn, beating his drum to wake people up for the suhoor meal. Sometimes the mustahir even left gifts. "Well, my mustahir," said Noor, "we'd better get busy and make the candy." In the kitchen, Noor mixed honey with powdered sugar. Then Mom heated the mixture to make a glaze for the nut brittle. Grandmother shelled pistachios. Mom roasted them, then stirred the nuts into the glaze. Once the mixture was spread on the table, Noor's father and grandfather took turns with a special mallet and chipped the roasted nut brittle into small pieces. Sam and Dan wrapped the candy in cellophane, and Mom helped them tie colorful ribbons around each cluster. Finally, the candy was placed in the treat basket. That looks yummy. "Now we must decorate the bags," said Noor. "Beautiful bags mean more candy." Noor and her brothers painted their canvas bag with bright colors. When the bags were dried, they glued colorful beads on them. Then Noor threaded yellow ribbon through the slits at the top of Dan's bag and tied it around his waist. "I'll take the green ribbons," Sam said. For her own bag, Noor chose ribbons of red and gold, her favorite colors. Then it was time to try on her fancy dress. Noor twirled in front of the mirror. The color of the dress was so bright that Noor thought she could see the red with her eyes closed. That night, Noor was too excited to sleep. She kept checking the candy and the Fanusis special Ramadan lanterns that would light up their path for Gurgaan. No one needed a mustahir that night. The whole family was up well before dawn. Noor ate dates at suhoor. Then she snuggled next to her grandmother. "I love Ramadan," she said. "Ramadan can be fun," said her grandmother, "but remember that the true meaning of Ramadan is spending time with family and sharing with those less fortunate." "Yes," said Noor, "that is Ramadan." As sunlight streamed through the windows, Noor knew she had to keep busy until sunset. She read the Quran, she prayed the midday prayer, then the afternoon prayer. She wondered if the clock had stopped. Finally, the sun set and Noor joined her family to break her fast at iftar. She had not had anything to eat or drink since suhoor. Sam and Dan, who were too young to fast, finished eating quickly. After iftar, Noor and her brothers got ready. Sam and Dan dressed in their traditional distaches. "You look very handsome," said their grandmother. Then Noor came down the stairs wearing her fancy dress. "You look beautiful," said her mother. Noor's heart beat as fast as the drums of the Mustachir himself as she held up her brass fanus. Dad snapped many pictures. Noor and her brothers tied their bags in place, and with grandfather by their side, they went on their Gorgaan walk. Everywhere she looked, Noor saw children in shimmering costumes. She heard singing throughout the neighborhood. Colorful fanuses lit the night. It's no wonder that the middle days of the month are known as the three whites, Noor thought. With the full moon in the sky, it all made sense to her now. She decided that Gorgaan should be called the White Nights of Ramadan. Dan knocked at the first door, and Sam, who had insisted on strapping his drums around his neck, stood at attention. When the neighborhood opened the door, Noor and Dan sang, "Gorgaan, oh Gorgaan!" Sam beat his drum. "I'm the new Mustachir," he announced. The neighborhood laughed and dropped candy in their bags. By the end of the night, the crinkly cellophane stuck out of their candy bags like flowers in a vase. "I'll be the Mustachir for 2 more nights," Sam said. When Noor and her brothers returned home with their sweet treasures, their mother was waiting with a food basket for the poor. "Now comes the time for sharing," she said, and handed the basket to Noor. As Noor and her grandfather walked to the mosque to deliver the basket, she remembered what her grandmother had said about Ramadan. She took her grandfather's hand and turned her eyes to the sky. "Look at the Ramadan moon, Grandpa," Noor said. "Isn't it beautiful?" "It certainly is beautiful, my Noor," her grandfather said. "It certainly is." And that's the end. Again, it was the White Nights of Ramadan. All right, you guys, it's our last book. Now, this one's not a Ramadan book, but it's a book about self-compassion, which I think is still very important. Let's see. So this one is called Listening with My Heart by Gabi Garcia, illustrated by Ying Hui Tan. And this is a story of kindness and self-compassion, which we should still be doing and practicing during Ramadan. All right. Esperanza's tummies fluttered as she practiced her lines on the porch. Today was the class play. Waiting for Mama to walk with her to school, she paced back and forth when she spotted a heart-shaped rock. Where's the rock, you guys? I think it's right there. Esperanza picked it up and showed it to Mama as soon as she stepped outside. "I see you found a little treasure," said Mama. Esperanza rubbed its rough surface and felt a twinkle of joy. "Maybe it's a sign." "For what?" asked Mama. She thought about the class play later that afternoon, wondering what it would finally be like in the spotlight. "To put my heart into everything I do," she answered. At that moment, they heard scratching and a soft cry. Esperanza peeked under the stairs and spotted a kitty shaking and shivering. No Mama in sight. She scooped the kitten onto her lap and cuddled her. "She's all alone. I think she's hungry." Esperanza reached for her lunch bag, pinched off a piece of chicken, and offered it to the kitty, who gobbled it up. Mama, I think the rock is a reminder to spread kindness and love. That's what we do when we listen with our hearts. I think you're onto something, said Mama. Can we keep Cleopatra, please? You guys hear Cleopatra? She asked Esperanza, who had already named the kitty. Queens are always welcome to our house, said Mama. If she's still here after school, we'll take her in. After school, Esperanza was more focused on the play than on math or reading. Clutching her script during recess, she noticed Bao sitting alone on a bench. He was new in school this week and didn't speak much English. She wondered if he felt lonely or scared. Esperanza found a soccer ball and kicked it over to him. A smile spread across Bao's face. He stood, popped the ball in the air, then bounced it between his knee and his head a few times. Dude's got moves, thought Esperanza. They spent recess giggling and making up hand signals. Afterwards, Esperanza borrowed Mrs. Owen's English-Vietnamese dictionary. She wrote friend in Vietnamese, drew a picture of Bao and her, then put it on his desk. Esperanza rubbed the rock in her pocket. Listening with her heart made her feel peaceful inside. Finally, it was time for the performance. It was too late for Bao to be in the play, but he stood at Mrs. Owen's side as a stagehand. Excitement bubbled as Esperanza awaited her cue. Esperanza walked on stage, tripped as she was about to say her first lines, and splattered across the stage. When she got up, she forgot her lines, so Miss Owen whispered them to her from backstage. Heat rushed through Esperanza's body as all eyes were glued to her. She wished she could disappear. I ruined the play, thought Esperanza, rushing off stage as soon as she had finished her part. I messed up in front of everyone. She tucked herself in behind some props so no one would see her. Esperanza noticed her body shaking and her face still burning. She took a deep breath and dug the rock out of her pocket. It was cracked and lopsided, just how she felt. Esperanza touched her hand to her heart and felt the disappointment. Bao found Esperanza a few minutes later and handed her a drawing with the word friend written above it. Esperanza nodded. She hadn't been treating herself like a friend. Esperanza realized this wasn't the first time she'd been unkind to herself. At the soccer game last weekend, she missed the ball that swooshed by her head and they lost the game. Nice work, a player from the other team yelled as the others laughed. Esperanza thought she'd let her team down and was the worst soccer player in the world. Thinking those thoughts had made her feel worse. At the curtain call, Esperanza reminded herself she hadn't ruined the play. She'd had an accident, and accidents happen to everyone. Listening with her heart wasn't just about giving kindness and love to others, it was about giving it to herself too. I can be a friend to myself, thought Esperanza. When Esperanza got home, she focused on her favorite things. She zipped down the hill on her bike, then spent the afternoon painting at the kitchen table. She also got the hug she needed from Mama. and some cuddles from Cleopatra. Oh. So you guys, this isn't part of the book, but I thought we could do this together. There are a couple of exercises to show yourself some self-compassion and some kindness, because sometimes we're not friends to ourselves and we say mean things about ourselves, but if we wouldn't say it to a friend, then why should we say it to ourselves? So let's do it together, okay? Some days stink. Not everything will go the way you want. You'll get upset. And when this happens, you can pause, take a deep breath, and practice listening to your heart. These are some things you can do. Name what you're feeling. Whatever you feel is okay. Listen to your body. Notice the sensations you are having and pay attention to your self-talk, what you tell yourself. Are the words supportive and understanding, or are they mean and rude? Are you being a friend to yourself? Wrap your arms around yourself and give yourself a gentle hug. Take a few deep breaths. Close your eyes if you'd like. And say these words. Now I want you guys to repeat after me. Ready? When I feel sadness, may I treat myself like the friend I need. May I show love and kindness to myself. When I feel anger, may I treat myself like the friend I need. May I show love and kindness to myself. And that was the end of listening with my heart. So you guys, really quick, I just want to remind parents that if you liked any of the books that were read today, we sent an email, Muslim Space did. It's a kids edition email with the list of titles and authors that were previously read and are going to be read. And then tomorrow I will be doing a little arts and crafts session tomorrow at 11 a.m. Still a Zoom call, and just go ahead and go to the Muslim Space website and it'll provide you the direct link to that. And then also we are still doing the story time and craft time every weekend until the end of Ramadan.